Hi guys, my name is Kristen. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. I was born with cystic fibrosis, diagnosed at the age of 4, and today I'm going to be talking about my kidney transplant. I guess it was about 4.5 years after I got my lungs that my creatinine started to creep up, and this means that something's not exactly right with your kidney. The reason for this is because I was on one of my anti-rejection medicines, which is called Prograf, is nephrotoxic, so it's not good for your kidneys. That also causes kidney damage over time. But that's not the only thing that happened. I had also been on a very potent antibiotic called polymyxin B. I got an infection called multi-drug resistant Pseudomonas, and as the name states, it was resistant to a lot of antibiotics, and they had to use this one, which is an old antibiotic, and it has lots of side effects, one of them being damage to the kidneys. And the other thing that might have contributed, but also been a cause of the bad kidneys, was that my blood pressure was very high, and that caused me to have like pain in my throat, headaches, and anxiety, because my heart was beating fast and my blood pressure was high. So it just kind of gave me anxiety. And I already had a little bit of anxiety because, I had been through a lot of traumas over the past almost 5 years, because there was a lot of bumps in the road after my double lung transplant. So when I was aware that my kidney wasn't doing well, which I didn't know was a thing after transplant, I didn't know that kidney transplants were pretty common. I was pretty scared. I mean, it's another transplant. I don't know what to expect. So I was a little anxious, but it wasn't just anxiety that was making my blood pressure high, because I'd wake up and my blood pressure was high. Anytime I took it during the day, it would be high. So, and that goes hand in hand with, like I said, kidney issues. Your blood pressure will be also not only high, but harder to control at times. Not for everyone, not at all stages, but this is just how it was for me. I would also go occasionally on antibiotics, just regular antibiotics through IV. They weren't like polymyxin. They would suppress my bone marrow and my hemoglobin would go down, and then I would need blood transfusions. So 2 days before my 5-year anniversary of my double lung transplant, I was called into my transplant center because my hemoglobin was very low again and I needed 2 units of blood. And then we had this big open house party for my 5-year lung transplant anniversary, and it was really great and I felt really good. But I don't know if it was just like a day or just a couple of days later, I felt so fatigued, and so I also had malaise. And after that, I kind of just laid in my bed like every day, and I rarely got up, and I never really ate or drank. I wasn't hungry, I wasn't thirsty. And now I know that's not really good, because when your kidneys aren't functioning well, it's very, very important to drink enough fluids during the day. Like currently my kidney isn't doing that well, and I try to drink every 2 to 3 hours. You also have to watch out because you don't want to flush out all of your sodium. I also was very itchy at this time. I don't know if it was because my phosphorus was high or not, but I know that kidney disease can cause itching, and it's kind of like a creepy, crawly sensation. It's not like a regular itch, and you itch one spot and then it goes to another spot. It's almost like a constant itch. And I feel like Benadryl never really touched it. It was really hard to live with, because, just constantly itching all day, all night. It was hard to fall asleep even. So one of the blood pressure medicines I was on was called clonidine, which I referred to as a horse tranquilizer, because as soon as I would take it, within a half hour, I would need to go to sleep for like 2 hours. And it was like, I took it 3 times a day. So it was like 6 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 10 at night. But obviously the 6 and the 10 didn't really disturb my awakeness because I was already sleeping. But the 2 p.m. I would definitely fall asleep for 2 hours, and it was just kind of like right in the middle of my day. So I was also retaining fluids at this time because my kidneys weren't functioning properly. And on top of that, I was also peeing like 10 times a night. I don't really know why it happens, but when you have kidney damage, you tend to urinate a lot during the night. So then I got a call from my doctor's office, and they said, your creatinine is like at a 3 right now, and we need you to come in so we can flush your kidneys and hopefully, get the creatinine to go down. But I knew like when they called that it was going to be a long stay, but I was glad they called because I was really miserable. But I knew it was going to be a hard stay, and I was correct. It ended up being a month and a half stay. I stayed on the transplant for 2 weeks. My blood pressure got really, really high, like 200 over 170. So they were like, you have to go to the ICU and get a nice nitroglycerin drip. So I spent 3 weeks in the ICU on 7 different blood pressure medicines, including the nitroglycerin drip. I was supposed to get a catheter for dialysis one day, but the ICU team just, I guess, canceled the orders for that, even though my lung transplant team had put the orders in for that. So then my lung transplant team was like, so did you get where's your dialysis catheter? And I'm like, well, I don't know. And then they found out that the ICU team canceled it. I don't even know why they canceled it. There was no reason for it to be canceled. I did have a bit of trouble with this ICU team, but eventually my doctors got the orders in and I was sent to get a catheter. And I was awake during this whole time. They had given me medicine to put me to sleep or to help with the anxiety. I think it was really to put me to sleep a little, but it didn't work. And I was talking to the surgeon the whole time. She did ask, I don't know if it was anesthesia, the anesthesiologist or whatever person was working with her, and was like, can we give her any more? And they're like, no. I think it could have risked maybe liver damage or more kidney damage. I'm not sure which, but they said it was unsafe. I had also been having extreme panic attacks. They did start when I was on the transplant floor. I think the first one was when my blood pressure was insanely high. So I got a panic attack and a nurse stayed with me. She held my hand until someone could come and give me Ativan. And then I was sent to the ICU. But in the ICU, I had a lot of panic attacks. I'm not really sure why. Yeah, I was scared, but not to the point that I should have had the panic attacks that I had. I felt like I was going to be unalive. Like I was so scared. So they would give me the IV Ativan, but I would then start to like hallucinate and I didn't really realize it. I thought every time I woke up, I thought they must have took me for a procedure and changed my room, because I thought I was in a different room at least 7 times. And I was really shocked to find out later on that I had been in the same room the whole time. So what was really happening now was that I had ICU psychosis. I wasn't really sleeping that much, and ICU psychosis is something you can get when you're in the ICU and conscious because of the way that it's set up and the different alarms and everything. It's just, if you're lucid in the ICU, it's very common to get ICU psychosis, which again, I didn't know at the time. I was hearing a radio station and other people couldn't hear it. And I was like, maybe I just have really good hearing, because I totally could hear the radio station playing all different kind of songs that I had never even heard before. But I was able to like say the words of the song to like my sister when she was there, because I was like, do you hear this song? And she's like, no. I think it was like a Bryan Adams and Dolly Parton song. It was so random because I don't really listen to that kind of music, but that's what was playing in my head, I guess. Some of the other noises that I heard were like a door slamming and somebody walking up or down the stairs in high heels and then opening a squeaky door. And there was no staircase by my room, which I didn't know at the time, because all I knew was my room. I didn't know what the outside looked like. I also heard people turning on the water to wash their hands and then turn it off, but again, there was nobody there. I also heard people talking about me and laughing, and I heard a voice that was in the radiator just saying ha, 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 like over and over and over again. I could hear, like, in the corner of the room, it was like an opera singer saying, like, who can it be? And they just kept repeating that and repeating it. And there was a voice of a woman, like a nice voice, a calming, soothing voice, who was kind of like on my lap singing, we love you, we love you, we love you. And just keep repeating that. So it's just like I heard all these noises, voices, songs. I heard piano music and all kinds of sounds. So I counted it at one point, and there were 20 different noises, voices, and sounds at one time. One of the first symptoms that I had, though, was I was seeing goblins on the wall. They were small, but there was a bunch of goblins just like on the wall. And I thought nothing of it. I thought, oh, this must be common because my kidney is failing. And maybe the toxins built up and I'm seeing goblins. So I didn't think of anything about that until one day when I heard people laughing and talking about me. And I thought they were in the other room, but then I had realized something's wrong. And I called my dad and I said, I think I have schizophrenia or something. And, then we told the doctors, and the doctors gave me a Haldol, and I started twitching, and like I was just like jerking around. And then finally I was able to sleep, which I hadn't been able to do in so long. But now they were concerned about the ICU psychosis, so at 2 a.m, they moved my bed back up to the transplant floor. And I was like, couldn't they have waited till the morning or something? Like, I finally fell asleep. So one of the perks of being in the ICU was that when I did dialysis, somebody came to my room. There was a dialysis machine brought into my room, and we did dialysis right there. And dialysis is pretty unpleasant, but now I would have to go to the dialysis floor. So I'd have to wait for transportation. It could come any time of the day, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Sometimes I would miss a meal and I'd be very hungry and couldn't eat until I came back, but then the food was cold and I'd be on isolation, so they couldn't microwave it. So it was, it's just not great. And I was on dialysis for 1 year. I only could have 2 liters of fluids a day, and I had to limit potassium, phosphorus, and sodium. I was also only allowed 4 ounces of dairy a day. So I ended up coming home and then going to a dialysis center. The first center I went to, it wasn't my favorite center. And, you're not really supposed to eat or drink during dialysis, and people would have 2-liter bottles of soda, big bags of chips. And then a new center was opening right near me in my town, and I was the only patient there because I didn't just have Medicare as my health insurance at that time. So I was able to be the first person there, and everybody was just focused on me. So it was really nice. And then eventually another man came in, and it was just the 2 of us for a while. And finally, they were allowed to let people who had Medicare come to the facility. It was a really good dialysis center. The workers were really diligent and really, really great. So at this point, I was really not peeing anymore, so I really had to limit my fluid to only 2 liters a day. Whereas before I was peeing a little bit, I could drink a little more. And the fluid also counted as pudding, yogurt, applesauce, fruit, etc., soups, things like that. So you still had to count that as a fluid. Another thing that dialysis took out besides toxins was protein. So I had to try to eat more protein, which before dialysis, I was trying to eat less protein because the protein was harming my kidneys. And now I was like, I have to eat protein. So I would eat like a turkey burger every morning. I also decided to go to pulmonary rehab during this time because, my muscles were getting weaker from the protein being sucked out and things like that. And also just having the kidney disease itself just makes you tired and lethargic, and you don't really exercise. So I thought going to pulmonary rehab would be a good idea. But after dialysis, my blood pressure would be really low, like 80/40 and pulse in the 130s. And it was, I had to walk very carefully, get up very carefully so as I didn't get lightheaded. Then I would drive myself home, eat something, take a nap, and then if I had rehab that day, I would wake up and go to rehab. A few months after dialysis, I tried to find a donor, but I couldn't really find a donor. And we tested my family, and unfortunately, my family has a different blood type than me. Only my dad has my blood type, but he has his own health problems, so he really wasn't a good candidate. So it turned out that one of my sisters was a 6 out of a 6 match, which is the best match you can have. And it would mean you wouldn't need as much anti-rejection medicine, but I already had a lung transplant, so my anti-rejection medicine was going to be at a higher dose anyway, because you naturally need more anti-rejection medicine with a double lung transplant than you do with a kidney. But they were really trying to get her to be my donor. However, because she has different antibodies, I would have to go through a treatment where they would have to put my blood through a machine, and it would be like 3 times a week, and I was already doing dialysis. So we decided that that was not the route to go. Instead, we entered the paired kidney exchange. So after about a year on dialysis, I got a call that there was a match. There was a woman donating her kidney to her friend, and they asked her if she would like to donate it to me, a stranger, and she agreed. And so there was an 8-way swap. So there was 4 people who got a kidney and 4 people who received a kidney through the paired kidney exchange. The surgery was much easier than the double lung transplant, but I had a lot of gas pains because they told me that my stomach was distended, which it was. And they said, have you ever experienced this kind of distension before? And I said, yes. When I had kidney disease, I would retain a lot of fluid. And so they had me sent for an MRI or an X-ray or something. And they said, well, your ileum is paralyzed. So you can't eat any food and you can't leave until you have a bowel movement. And they gave me enemas 3 times a day, lactulose, stool softeners, other laxatives. They tried everything, Miralax, but nothing worked. And yeah, I was having a lot of gas pains, and thankfully they did eventually give me pain medicine for that, which was like an instant relief. And so I was sent home after 7 days, even though I didn't have a bowel movement. And when I went home, I took Lasix on my own, and I lost 7 pounds in 2 days. I ate all the food that was forbidden on the kidney diet, salt, potassium, phosphorus. I just ate what I wanted, and I was so happy. I could pee again. I was no longer itchy. I was so elated. So I was extremely grateful for my sister and my donor. Again, not being itchy, being able to pee, it was just great. Eating the foods that I wasn't allowed to eat before, it was so great. After a year of not eating potatoes or lots of red sauce and things like that, eating oranges again and bananas, all the things that I loved. So I was just really happy. So that's my kidney transplant story. If you would like to subscribe, that'd be great. And I'll be back for more videos explaining my experiences with cystic fibrosis and lung transplant. So thanks again.